Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air. Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
Well, what a historic show we will have for you today. Just a few things happening in the sports world as Bill Belichick this morning drops the bomb that he is leaving the New England Patriots after 24 years and 6 Super Bowls. Oh, does that reverberate through many NFL cities? You betcha. Does it reverberate through Tampa Bay? Oh, I think so. We will discuss the possibilities of Bill Belichick coming to Tampa Bay. Interesting. We will also discuss the outflow of the resignation of Nick Saban. Holy crap, talk about ripples through the college football world. What does this mean? Why is he leaving? Who's next? All those things can impact your favorite team, Florida, your favorite team, Florida State, your favorite team, USF. Who knows? Can impact all of them. We got the Bucs. Oh, by the way, the Bucs have a playoff game this week against the Eagles. And we've got the best man we could possibly have on the show today, Sal Paolantonio, who has covered the Patriots and Bill Belichick for all of those Super Bowls and all the years Belichick has been there, will be joining us at 11 o'clock. He also has covered the Eagles since their existence, I believe. So we will chat with Sal Paolantonio about all those things to get a historical perspective on Bill Belichick and what's next for him. I already texted him. I said, I'm asking you the question here, partner, this morning. Will the Bucs consider Bill Belichick, and should they consider Bill Belichick? So good morning to you, Tim Ham of our DSP affiliate in Dallas, IndyCar. Tim, how are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well, JP. It is a balmy 34 degrees and sunny here in the DFW area.
There you go.
And once again, I have the window open in front of me. It's probably not helping my voice very much, is it?
Yeah. Well, you love the cold. You're a hibernating bear.
Yes.
What a bombshell this morning. And poor Nick Saban, good friends of Bill Belichick, by the way. He was, getting ready to get all his flowers on Get Up this morning and every other show across America. And Bill Belichick steals the headlines. Nobody's even talking about Saban, which is sad because his career, and he'll certainly get his flowers. There's no doubt that time will come, but it's not going to be this morning in this news cycle because of the situation with Bill Belichick. So we got Sal Paolantonio. Evan Closkey, by the way, from News Channel 10 will join us at 10:30. Does a great job breaking down the Buccaneers from a film standpoint. We'll talk about Baker's injuries, how that's going to affect this week's game, how the Eagles and the Bucs match up from an X's and O's standpoint. So we'll chat with him. So big show coming your way. Sit back, relax. If you're doing some work, we'll hope to entertain you. And jump on in the comments as well. Here, you can do that on Facebook. You can do that on many different platforms on YouTube. You can also hit me up on Twitter at FanStreamJP and hit me with some questions. I got a poll out right now on Twitter. And by the way, I want to say this with great respect for Todd Bowles. Obviously we talk about coaching changes. The man, obviously he's getting ready for a playoff game. Know this, folks. He is unconcerned with anything I am saying. Will never hear it. Doesn't care. He's very locked in. So we're not distracting him in any way. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this is big boy football. Okay. This is life and people talk about this stuff. So it's not meant to be disrespectful in any way. So this morning I wanted to do a poll just to kind of check in on the confidence level of Todd Bowles. I just put it up already. We got 30 votes. Let's see, I screwed it up already. I said of Bucs lose. If Bucs lose, hopefully I can use the edit feature. Oh, damn, I can't. It's too late.
Can't edit it, can you?
What's that?
You can't edit it, can you?
It's been 14 minutes, so I can't. All right, we'll just go with it. If Bucs lose Monday night, should they go after Bill Belichick? Vote and comment. We will discuss on our show this morning. Already, of course, he's the GOAT, gets 22%. No, his style has passed, getting 54%. Fire Bowles, hire Canales, getting 8%. And stick with Bowles, getting 16% of the vote. So what I'm gathering is you wouldn't mind finding a new coach, but you don't necessarily want it to be Bill Belichick, which has kind of been my thought. I do think his time has passed. I don't think he would be a good fit with this team. At least that's what I thought early on. Was I rethinking that a little bit this morning? To be honest, I was. But a couple of things came to mind. First of all, let's think about what's going on in New England. They're going to do a press conference today, a joint press conference today with Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick. So they have come to an agreement that he is going to move on. And I think one of the big things that has came out of the news this morning that has not really been talked about is they have agreed that no compensation, because Belichick is still under contract for one more year, no compensation will be needed for Bill Belichick to move on. That's a big deal. And I want to, I want to say an attaboy to Robert Kraft on this one. This is, you owe Bill Belichick. Now, you've paid him handsomely. He's done his job as he tells everybody else to do. But I think in this situation, you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to forego, because if there were compensation needed, obviously that would affect where Bill's going to go to help win his next 15 games that he needs to tie Don Shula, because that's going to probably cost you a first-round pick, which is a first-round pick that Bill will not be, even though he'll screw that pick up anyway. Fairly confident of that, probably, which is part of the problem, right?
That's right.
But you don't want to hinder him in any way to reaching that milestone. So I think that's a class move by Bob Kraft, who at times is not the classiest. So I think that's a class move. I just want to say that. So this does make the Belichick story a little bit more interesting here in Tampa Bay and also in Atlanta. I think, the fan base in Atlanta has gotten wind of this, and Arthur Blank, being a octogenarian himself, I'm pretty sure he's in his 80s. Has an affinity for Bill Belichick, obviously, believe it or not, even though he was the architect of the 28-3 comeback on your Atlanta Falcons, right? Arthur Blank. And maybe that's part of it. It's like, maybe if I can hire the guy, it will soothe a little bit of the injury. I don't know how that whole catharsis would work there for Arthur Blank. But, here's the thing, though. What it tells me also is that Bill Belichick wasn't willing to give up any of his powers in New England. I think if Bill Belichick was willing to give up the general managership and the acquiring of players, I think maybe there would have been a way for him to stay on in New England. And it seems to me that he's being pretty stubborn about that. So whoever hires him is going to have to agree to give him full control. I'm not okay with that. If he wants to come to Tampa Bay and be in full control of personnel, then that's a no for me, because he has clearly shown that he's not good at it. He's not good at it. He is a great tactician. He is a great motivator. But I'm not even sure the style of his motivation works anymore.
It's pretty old school.
It's pretty old school. And I was listening to Damian Woody this morning, and Teddy Bruschi, described his style, Belichick style. And I was like, you know what? These kids today, they just don't react to that type of motivation. Frankly, they're just too soft. They've grown up in too soft of a world. And that's not, I don't mean that as a knock on their generation. That's just a fact. It's just a fact. They're not been conditioned as our generation was, Tim, good or bad, right? I had a lot of bad, I won't say a lot. I had some bad coaches growing up and probably did some things that probably they shouldn't. But for the vast majority of them, it was tough discipline, and I hear things like, the things that, Nick Saban was about, there's no secret. There's no easy path, right? It's hard work that's going to get you there. Every day matters. Every day you got to get up and grind, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is. Discipline is the foundation of all success. Excellence takes courage. These are mandates. These are things that when you come into an Alabama program, when you come into a New England Patriots program, Damian Woody talked about every Wednesday morning, the team meeting. You knew you were going to get blasted, whether it was Tom Brady or Damian Woody or Teddy Bruschi, you were going to get blasted, and he was going to make you feel uncomfortable 24/7. That was his motivation style. That was never good enough, and he was always going to make you be better. And Teddy Bruschi used this story or an analogy, whatever you want to call it, of a wet towel. And he said, when you want to get all the water out of a wet towel, what do? You just wring it, and you wring it, and you wring it, and you wring it until the last drip comes out of the towel. And that's how he described Bill Belichick's coaching style. And that's how he would just keep wringing you until you got every drip of your athletic ability, your emotional stamina out of you. And if you're an athlete, that's what you want. That's what you want. That's what you really, really want. You want a coach that's going to demand the best out of you and make the best out of you. I've seen this many times in my career. You look at Vinny LeCavalier and John Tortorella. Vinny hated Tortorella, hated him. But as the years went by, he understood and looked back at his methods and said, yeah, I needed that. I was soft. And he whooped my ass into shape and made me the player that I needed to be. And isn't that what you want in the end? Maybe it's a little tough going through it, but it's tough. So these guys are old school dudes, Saban, and maybe that's part of the reason Nick Saban is leaving. I think it's a huge part of it. With the NIL and the portal now, the players have more power than ever. And I think in some way that's a good thing, but in some way it's a bad thing, right? It is a double-edged sword. There's no question about it. But when you marry it with the Nick Saban's methods, it doesn't work, because when you push this hard on kids, and they have an open door, they're gone. They're gone, right? In most of his career, Nick Saban's career, they didn't have an open door. The door was open, but you couldn't go to another SEC school. I'm going to, and I hate to say this, but it's true. When you left Alabama, if you're as a player, if you were looking for, a letter from your employer that's going to be positive moving forward, you weren't getting it. You weren't getting it. You were probably getting something a little bit different. Like, yeah, he's a quitter and he's leaving. Take that for what it's worth. So there were not a lot of options for the players. So that, in a good way for the players, you had to stick and stay. And maybe, for some of them, for a lot of players, maybe that wasn't the greatest thing, because he was never going to embrace them and there was nowhere for them to go. So that's not a good thing. So it's a mixed bag, but it all equals this, that it doesn't work as well as it used to. Those old school methods just don't work. And I think Belichick is finding that out in terms of, professional players finding that they have a lot more power than they used to, right? We see that in the NBA, not as much in NFL because of the rules, but it still exists, right? It still exists. When guys want to leave, they find their way out. Go back to Keyshawn, right? So it's just different now. And, I don't necessarily think it's for the better. We've talked about this, Tim. You look at the NFL right now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's awful. It's awful. The product is awful. And so much of it is dumb football play. I mean, we talk about it every week with the Bucs. I look at players making fundamental mistakes and I'm just like, how did you get to the NFL?
Discipline, lack of discipline.
Complete lack of discipline. Like just and clueless half the time, just clueless, like not knowing where you are, what you're doing. I think it was Bruschi who told a story this morning about if you didn't know who the backup long snapper was when you showed up on Wednesday because you had to study the roster, you were terrified of being called out by Belichick. And then it forces you to just do your homework, right? Sometimes we need to be forced to do our homework. But does that make us better? Yes, it makes us better. It makes us better. It talked a lot about Louis Riddick was on this morning talking about, there was a week where he had just a tremendous game. Belichick was his Saban, I think, was his position coach, and Belichick was the defensive coordinator. And they gave another player the game ball, and clearly Louis had the better game. And the player said, no, this is for Louis. And everybody's claps. And so the coach kind of looked down at him, like, all right, whatever. So as they were walking out, I think it was Belichick who came up to him and said, whatever. Okay, you got the game ball. What are you going to do next week? What are you going to do? It's just that constant motivation, making you feel uncomfortable. And, that's who, and I hate to write this as an epitaph for Bill Belichick, but I think it's it's kind of pertinent as to will that type of coaching still work in the NFL? And I don't think it does. I don't think the players in New England are reacting to Bill Belichick as they once did. And maybe the fact that when Brady was there and he ascribed to this and went along with it, and they saw Brady being coached like this, and they're like, well, if Belichick's going to do that to Brady and he's going to respond, and play his best, then maybe I should too. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. That dynamic doesn't exist anymore. So, Belichick's pushing these buttons, of some of these other players, and it's like, yeah, whatever. Nobody cares. So, as I think about him coming to Tampa Bay, as I crave that type of discipline for these players, and I crave the demanding of excellence for these players, and I crave to see the accountability level go up to where it should be, and a coach hold these guys. You think Devin White would last one effing minute in a Bill Belichick locker room? No. No.
He would cry.
He would be gone. He would have been gone well before the season started. There is no tolerance for that type of stuff in a Bill Belichick locker room. And I like that. And I think it breeds winning. And I think we've seen, the results are there.
Right.
Tim, you've been covering this league for all the time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So, you and I, we've been calling it old school coaching, right? But it used to just be called coaching. Yep. That's how everybody coached. So I think part of the problem with the players, and this is especially true in college, is a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations ago, a kid was coached that way from peewee to elementary school to middle school to high school to college, and then they continue on into the pros, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of those coaches are gone. That dynamic has changed. Society, America, whatever, has changed, right? So people don't coach that way at the lower levels anymore. Like these younger guys that are now coaching were not coached that way. They were coached under a different set of circumstances, a different set of expectations, with a different attitude. So now those coaches are coaching their players that way. And now you have those coaches or those players that now get recruited by the likes of Alabama. And Nick Saban still uses these old coaching tactics. These players have never had to deal with that before.
Yep.
And they don't like it. And they've been taught, you don't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to take that. You have options.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. I think now those players then go to the NFL and they're coached by Belichick. They're not used to this. They've never seen this before.
Yep.
They've been told their whole life, well, that's not fair. You don't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way they play, know? And it's unfortunate. You and I, again, we call it old school. It just used to be coaching. That's how it was. But now the whole dynamic of America, the society, the war, everything, it's all different. And you can't get away with that anymore. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, and so here we sit. You know what wins. These old school coaches can bring this. You see it winning across the league. I mean, it's not the last time Belichick won a Super Bowl. It's been a while. But I'll say this: we just witnessed it. Bruce Arians, old school, very, very much in the Belichick style. I think he called people out. He ruthlessly held people accountable. He's a nice guy, and the players loved him. But behind closed doors, we hear that about Todd Bowles, but we don't see it on the field, and then we don't see it at the podium. We don't see it anywhere else. So I'm a little bit hesitant to say that it really exists. I'm not in the meeting, so I don't know. I can just see what's on the field. And it just, I think it's too soft. I've talked about the Victory Monday. Victory Mondays are great in the middle of the season, not for playoff time. Sorry. I don't know this for a fact. I'd have to ask, but does Bill Belichick have Victory Mondays in the playoffs when you're playing for a playoff spot against the Saints, your rival that week? I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's a no.
Yeah.
And I just think it's soft. But maybe Todd Bowles is like, yo, dude, you don't know, these kids today, this is what I got to do. I get to get them motivated. I'm like, all right, well, 8-9, 9-8, 17-18 as we go into play a Eagles team. We'll see. But again, I don't want to make this a Bowles referendum, But I just think that right now it kind of is because Bill Belichick is on the market. And as let me see who said this. Thomas Casper said this, and I believe him to be true. The Glazers will want Belichick. They are big game hunters. The fact that Arthur Blank wants him as well, I think is interesting. You have to put yourself in the mindset of these owners, and these owners are of my age and older. Certainly Arthur Blank. They worship Bill Belichick. And they've always craved to have a coach like Bill Belichick. It's almost like, me wanting that 73 Charger I had in high school again and realizing it's $60,000. But I want it. It's like I want these guys, they want a Super Bowl. Like, 10 years ago, Bill Belichick was available. Would I want him? Oh, my God. I would kill to get Bill. But this is how they think, So it's and let's just say this. Fast forward. Say the Bucs lose and they play like they have the past 2 weeks. Can't score. They lose to the Eagles on Monday night. Baker doesn't look so good. All the people that have been defending bowls will be going, nah, it's time for a change, because they'll be the prisoners of the moment. I'm trying to be a little bit more even keeled and look at his body of work and not just zero in on, 2 division titles. We can, the constant excuses of, roster and having to play free agents and blah, 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 blah. Every team goes through adversity. Look at the injuries across the board. Players that didn't play, everybody's got their injuries. All right. Everybody's got their things to deal with. The great coaches overcome them all. And I'm not sitting here saying Todd Bowles did a horrible job this year. I'm not. It's been average, maybe a little above average. But is that what you subscribe to? 500? I don't think so. So you look at Belichick. Can he come in here and do it better? I don't have a crystal ball, but I would say better than Todd Bowles? Maybe. Yeah. Do I think he can take the Bucs to a Super Bowl? No, I don't. I don't think Bill Belichick. I think his time, sadly has passed. And especially if he wants full control of personnel, that's a no. And it should be a no for the Buccaneers. You tried that once before with John Gruden. Okay. The first year didn't count because Rich McKay was still here and they won a Super Bowl. After that, it unraveled. It wasn't good. It was okay. They won, I think, 2 division championships, but in the end, it was a slow deterioration of that team. And the aftermath was ugly. So, and that was partly, of Gruden's doing as well, because he didn't develop young players and they didn't draft because they didn't have any draft picks for the most part. So I don't think Belichick's the answer either, to be quite honest. Do I know the exact answer and who the guy is to win a Super Bowl? No. Do I like Gerard Mayo as a replacement for Belichick? Yeah, I like that guy. I think he is, he's kind of the guy in waiting. He's the DeMeco Ryans in that mold. These are the coaches that are going to have some success, I think, in the next level. A lot of them have some, like Gerard Mayo has a lot of Bill Belichick in him, obviously. But maybe coming from a different voice, a younger voice, someone that they maybe identify with on other levels. And certainly, Gerard Mayo has a different life experience than Bill Belichick, obviously. And he can relate to these players on that level, but still maybe have those Belichickian principles. And maybe that works on a different level. That sounds like it works to me. I see that kind of working across college and pro football. So, yeah, I can see that. And is that something that the Bucs kind of want to find in their own way? We'll see. So I think, these next few days are going to be fascinating as to how this team prepares, how the Buccaneers look on Monday night. I mean, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we got a huge freaking playoff game coming up here on a Monday night and an opportunity to beat an Eagles team that's in a ridiculous tailspin. Historic. Yeah. Tailspin. I haven't watched I've watched highlights of their games, Tim. You probably may have watched them a little bit closer than I. What are you seeing from the Eagles that is put them into this tailspin?
So this is a team to me that I've seen in Dallas lots of times. So I'm familiar with this. A team in disarray. The players don't trust each other. The locker room is a mess. Nobody trusts Jalen Hurts anymore. He used to be kind of the silent glue that held that locker room together. Everybody rallied around Jalen Hurts. Nobody talks to him anymore. Nobody trusts him. Plus, he's hurt, so he doesn't have the physical ability that he used to or that he did recently. And man, the players just don't trust each other. And I think they've turned on Sirianni to a bit too.
Oh yeah,
for a little bit. And anything that you can point at on any team that is a sign of dysfunction, it's going on in Philadelphia right now. And I'll tell you, I love it. I think it's great.
Oh, you're here for it. Ain't no doubt about that.
The Eagles.
Yeah.
But, my Eagles are y'all Saints, right? So, I mean, that's how I feel about the Eagles. But, man, it's when you start getting that kind of dysfunction where it's on a personal level,
right?
Man, that's hard to overcome, and it almost requires a coaching change or a culture change, So, and by the way, I want to remind everybody as we're on the Belichick train, if somebody came to me and said, not mentioning a name, hey, there's a Super Bowl winning coach that's interested in coaching your team, and by the way, just 4 years ago he won a Super Bowl. That's pretty recent. I would take it.
Is it just 4 years ago?
2018. That was the 13-3 over the Rams. Well, yeah, but at the end of the season. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2018, the 13-3 win over the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Yeah. But it seems like, I mean, last year when he just decides I'm not going to hire an offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia's going to call play. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, even I want to give deference because I'm not in that place, and he's the greatest coach of all time, and he's forgotten more football yesterday than I'll ever know in my life.
Yeah.
But how do you go through a season with a second-year quarterback without an offensive coordinator? That just makes no sense.
Or some kind of quarterback guru there,
Yeah, something. I mean, that's just that to me is a level of arrogance. And I think to some degree, he people talk about his drafting and all these other, he doesn't care. He thinks he can take any group of players and turn them into Super Bowl champions. He's that confident in his coaching ability. And I'm sorry, but that's just not the way it is. Trent Brown, one of his former offensive tackles, put that up on Twitter the other day and just basically said, look, man, he's a great coach, but the dude just cannot pick players and doesn't really think it's that important. And, sorry, dude. And if you want to come here to Tampa Bay and we want to give him, the 100% say, does Jason Light, who knows him well, obviously worked for Bill Belichick and the Patriots organization, does he really want to give all that up? I don't think so. I don't think, nor should he. What's
interesting about this whole thing, JP, is on Monday, as we reported over at PatriotsCountry.com, Belichick and Kraft had a sit down. They had what was called at the time their preliminary meeting, right, about his future.
Right.
And the biggest story coming out of it was if Belichick's going to stay, he's got to bring back Josh McDaniels. And so we're all thinking, well, then there's the answer. He'll bring back his offensive guy. It'll be like the old days. He'll get some help with personnel decisions, blah, blah, blah. And now here we were 2 days later, Belichick's just out, which tells me he wanted no part of Josh McDaniels coming back to coach under him. He was just done with the whole thing. He wanted out. He didn't want to be told who to bring in. Right. I guarantee you that was Kraft going, look, you need to bring Josh back.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to bring Josh back.
Yeah.
Well, that's the stipulation if you want to stay.
Yeah.
Well,
he was under no stipulations.
Yeah.
And wherever he goes, I think he's going to, if you're hiring me, I'm going to have the final say on everything. So, you want me? That's the way it's going to be. They're on to Cincinnati. Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's going to be. Mumble Mouth is just going to say that. And I just don't think that works in this collaborative society that we're in the NFL, where things are so complicated and difficult and PR and hurting guys' feelings and what's on social media, blah, 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 blah. And I know Bill Belichick doesn't give a rat's ass about any of it, and probably nor should he, but it's the reality of the situation. It's a reality. Someone came to him and said, Devin White's on Instagram saying he wants to get traded. What's Facegram? What's
Instagram?
It's an Instabook. Who? What? It doesn't know. Doesn't care. So I get it, but it matters, unfortunately, in this world we live in. To our commentors, Bill is destined for either TJC, good morning to you, Atlanta because they're ready to win minus quarterback, or Carolina because he could handpick his GM. So he's going to be in the NFC South, you say, TJC 22. Interesting. Would we rather have him coaching for us or against us? I think wherever he goes, it's going to be a race to 15 or 16, as it were, to break Don Shula's record. I don't see excellence in his future. I don't. Now, here's the other part of it. Was Carolina better with Bill Belichick than Matt Rule? I think we know the answer to that question. But are they going to win a Super Bowl with him picking his GM and going to Carolina with that roster? I don't see it happening anytime soon. I just don't. And I don't necessarily see the quarterback marriage there. In Atlanta, interesting. A roster minus a quarterback. So what they going to do with quarterback? Is he going to pick the quarterback? If he is, I'm okay with that as a Buccaneers not fan. But if you're a Buccaneers fan, you're okay with that.
Yeah.
So who's the quarterback? You're going to decide for him? Are you going to draft one? He's going to have a rookie quarterback? Okay. Yeah. I don't see that working very well. And then if you're the Glazers now, do you see it as that way? You're competing against Carolina and Atlanta to get the greatest coach of all time. And, and what does that bring in terms of relevance to your organization? That's the other part of it. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and do your comments as well. Evan Closkey is going to join us from Channel 10 and break down some of the X's and O's of this game coming up with the Eagles. We are brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Scott Jeeves, hard at work in his office in St. Petersburg or maybe Tampa today because he's a local guy, and he will be there for you. The many, many attorneys there, local folks here that know the local justice system. So if you're looking to find an attorney, you've been in an accident, you have some grievances, go to the folks that are here locally, have a great reputation locally and throughout the state, and we'll get the job done for you. Big enough to fight the big insurance companies, small enough to give you the personal attention that you richly deserve. It's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Back at 3. Stay with us. Are you tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. Yeah, it's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages, and it's home to the Tampa Gator Club and Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome at any time. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour. Weekdays get $4 White Claw vodka drinks and $4 White Claw seltzers, $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 with tons of specials and the fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have swag and ticket giveaways as well. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio and come watch football in a tropical paradise all season long. It's 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll through on a Thursday morning here, getting ready for a big playoff game coming up on Monday night, a big playoff weekend of games, wildcard weekend, one of the best weekends of football. Let's bring in our good friend Evan Closkey from WTSP, their sports director over there at Channel 10. What's up, Evan? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm just hanging outside One Buck Place right now and going to check in on the guys today to see how they're progressing for Monday.
Yeah. Did you were you over there for practice yesterday? I know Baker didn't practice. See anything that caught your eye? Hear anything?
I wasn't there. Our other reporter David was there yesterday. We flip-flopped today, but right. From what he was telling me and from what I saw in the video, it was the classic walkthrough. Nothing really of note. I think they were just really doing body maintenance and getting out there and allowing Trask and Wolford to get some reps just in case something happened to Baker this weekend or on Monday.
What do you think about his status right now? I don't listen to a lot of what's going on, what people are saying. I watch the games. I watch their movements in practice as best I can. You don't see much, obviously, in the media portion from some of the video we get. But what I saw in the game tells me that ankle is really bad. It's really bad. And I don't know how he played on it last week. That dude is just he's pure adrenaline and guts, and I love it. But you need more than that to win in the playoffs. What are your thoughts on where Baker's at right now from a physical standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, he's hurting. And he's dealt with little nicks and bruises all year long. Has had stints where it hasn't bothered him much. And then, this ankle injury dates all the way back to the first Saints meeting, that cheap shot he took on the Kate Otten touchdown. Ugh. And, it's gotten better throughout and then re-aggravated it against the Saints in the second meeting, and then really early in that Panthers game again. So that ankle is probably going to feel fine entering the game. Right. But all it takes is one hit, and then, he's right back down to square zero, and he's going to be hobbling around, and, you don't know if his average depth of target is going to be sacrificed because he's going to have to check it down or try to avoid hits. And what really hurts about that ankle injury is, he's had this amazing ability to avoid a lot of sacks this year. Yep. Withering away from all this pressure when it does come. And I think with that ankle injury, it kind of limits his ability to get out of the pocket in those situations. And then he has to eat the sack. So it's that to me, the ankle injury is more concerning than the ribs injury that he suffered against the Saints in a second meeting, because he told us there is no structural damage with the ribs, and that's just going to get better over time. So he said he didn't really take any big hits in the Panthers game to his ribs, that there was nothing of note that re-aggravated his rib injury. And while that's still sore, I would imagine a little more than 2 weeks out, the ribs are going to be feeling a lot better than what
Yeah.
he did last week and then the week before. So this really does come down to that ankle injury, and it's certainly not going to be 100%. And I'm sure he's going to numb whatever he can down there to make sure that he can just gut through the game and
Yeah.
get through whatever however many playoff games he needs to get through.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% on all of that. And, Baker has been at his best when he's on the move, and I don't think he's particularly effective when he can't get out of the pocket. So we'll see how that figures. Now, as far as the rest of the team goes and how this team will ready for the Eagles, a team that is in an unbelievable tailspin. I like their chances on who they're playing. But again, I'm not sure I trust Todd Bowles to come up with a great game plan and have these guys ready to play because of what I saw against the Saints and to some degree what I saw against Carolina. What are your thoughts on that level?
Yeah, and it's interesting actually is that towards the end of the year here, the defense is getting a little bit better and the offense is going a little bit in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
I think when looking back at the Panthers and the Saints game, the number one problem that I saw first off offensively is that they're not handling a four-man front. And if teams are going to be able to get pressure on a four-man front, if they can put 6 in the box and still stop the run, the Bucs are screwed. That's just what it comes down to. You have to be able to run in those light boxes, and you have to be able to give Baker enough time if they're going to drop, 7 back. So, I think the Panthers did a really good job of that. And I thought the Saints did an even better job, at least pressuring Baker on passes. And that limits the passing game when you do all that stuff. So there's a ripple effect. And the Eagles are a team on paper, at least, that defensively speaking in that front can present a light box, a four-man front, and at least generate pressure on the quarterback. Maybe the rush, this is going to be a big game where the Rashad White and the rushing game has to do something because the Eagles' rushing defense is also in a tailspin. When they met them the first meeting, they were one of the best in the league, and somewhere midway through the season, with all the injuries they've had, that has gone south. So, and their secondary is terrible. So you have to, really, you're going to have to put up points against this team. And then on the flip side with Todd Bowles, we know he's going to want to generate pressure on Jalen Hurts. He loves the blitz, and the Eagles have an amazing offensive line. And the tailspin, part of the problem with the Eagles is that when Jalen Hurts gets pressured and he has to roll out of the pocket, their coaching issues are a problem too. And he doesn't have an escape plan. He's rolling out of the pocket. He's getting pressured. He's trying to figure out something to do. And the routes they have run, there is no help. There is no check down. There is no guy running, close to the line of scrimmage. So it ultimately has Jalen Hurts running out of bounds or throwing it away, puts him behind the sticks. So, Bowles is going to have to dial up a lot of pressure because they don't really have a guy that can win one-on-one in a pass rush.
Right.
And they're going to have to take a risk like that. And that's pretty much where this defense is that you're going to have to negotiate the back end and just hope that over the course of the game that you can get 3 or 4 sacks, that limits 3 or 4 drives, and that you can hold them to like 17 points and the offense can do just enough with that.
I think that's a great analysis of where this goes. And, you used the word there that scares me, and that's risk. Todd Bowles it seems to be completely allergic to it, especially in big moments. And so, and I think, he's got a pair of linebackers that are among the best blitzing linebackers in football. It's about the only thing I think Devin White does well. So I got to have him spying Jalen and going after him every chance he gets. And I think he has to stay aggressive and don't worry about getting beat deep. AJ Brown looks like he's a little bit hobbled. Just get after him. I think that's when they've had the best success. You might give up a cheapie, but I also think Jalen will throw you a couple too in those situations. Yep. So, and those are bigger plays. So I would agree with you wholeheartedly on that analysis. In the end, who do you think wins this one? I haven't gotten a feeling and made a pick yet. My gut is kind of saying I just don't trust Todd Bowles in this situation, but the Eagles are just so awful and they look like a mess. So it's like a coin flip.
It's funny that literally that's my gut is the same thing. I still haven't firmly made a decision myself either. My gut says the Eagles win.
Yeah.
But I do say, last year when the Bucs entered the playoffs, we all thought that maybe they can flip the switch, right? Tom Brady, they'll flip the switch. And they just,
Never
woof. They were the
Obliterated.
team that we saw all year long.
Yep.
And so then in my head, I'm kind of thinking that's kind of the Eagles this year. Oh, look, they have, all this experience from last year, veterans on paper. They're so, they're much more talented. But mentally, are they there? Are they, is that locker room fractured in any degree? And that stuff matters. So that's the stuff I can't really put my finger on, is that are the Eagles coming down here 100% focused and with the confidence that City has completely turned on them?
Yep.
They really got no one in their corner back there. So, that and you have to go on the road. So there's a little bit of where the Bucs, despite their faults, they are a together unit, and they have gone through ups and downs this entire season. And to their credit, they have withstood the storm. So there's a part of me that says if the Eagles come in determined, focused, and all that other stuff doesn't really matter, they're going to win this game. But if the Bucs can lay a punch early in this game and really set the tone, it might be a knockout blow, and we'll just see this kind of Eagles team going through the motions. Either which way, I kind of see it like 2018. I haven't decided who that 20 is going to be yet, but I do think it's going to be a much closer game than the first meeting. And if we look back at the teams, I think the Bucs are a little bit better than Week 3, and I think the Eagles are a little bit worse than Week 3. So it's a little bit of a coin flip game, and I have a slight lean for the Eagles, which I might change as we get closer to Monday.
I'm very like-minded in that analysis, and here's where I think I'm leaning and why. To me, especially in the playoffs, physicality matters. The Bucs have not really been a good team against other teams that out-physical them. See the Saints a couple weeks ago. This Eagles team reminds me a little bit of the Saints. Older guys, veteran guys, big guys, strong guys, physical team that's in disarray. That's what we thought about the Saints. They're in disarray. They're dysfunctional, right? They came in here singularly focused and put a physical beat down and a tactical beat down on the Buccaneers. And they have a lot of the similar traits that the Eagles have. So I see, if Todd Bowles doesn't have a better game plan and isn't aggressive, which again is not his MO, even though he blitzes a lot, he's a very conservative coach in general. I think the Bucs lose for that reason. So I'm probably going to lean towards the Eagles, and I think this could be more of a Saints-like matchup that we saw a couple weeks ago. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me ask you a couple other questions, just from a little bit more, 40,000-foot macro, and then to deal with Bowles and Belichick now. Belichick is out there. We know the Glazers are big game hunters, and it appears that Atlanta and Carolina are looking at Belichick, and the Glazers, are smart enough to see those teams are in their division. How much do you think if Bowles loses, the Bucs lose on Monday night, the Bucs are in the Belichick sweepstakes? What do you think? And would he be a good fit?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I'm not here telling people that it's 100% like, oh, Bowles won the division, he's safe. If it's a close loss, depending on how that game goes on Monday, I do think it matters, right? Like if they get blown out like they did last year against the Cowboys in the playoffs, all this good favor that has been built up, you won the division 3 in a row, it's going to be gone. Agreed. And you have a lot of big names out there.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, the Glazers are big game hunters, and you have Jason Light in that building, who probably has a pretty good relationship understanding of what Bill Belichick would want, how that would work. I think that the Buccaneers are a pretty good situation to walk into. You're going to have some more cap space next year. The foundation of this team, they're the first team since 2014 to make it to the playoffs with the most dead money in the league. Mm-hmm. So you have a great foundation of youth that has played, and allows you also to maybe keep Canales and the offensive progressions that I saw. He ain't perfect, but there is a part of me that thinks that the bones are there, the experience is not, and just give him more experience and things will be tinkered appropriately.
Agreed.
But yeah, I think that that's very much in play. And I think that the Buccaneers, unless Belichick doesn't want to follow the Tom Brady map, which I think would be silly,
Yeah.
I think that would be a very realistic possibility. And I do think it is the Glazers' MO to go for someone like Belichick, especially because there are going to be people in the division as well who are going to be very interested in him as well. So I don't put it at a non-zero chance that Todd Bowles is going to be safe. And I really do think that it's going to come down to Monday Night Football. And really, once again, Todd Bowles' future is in his own hands. And I would say if they do win on Monday, then we can quell all the concerns
Yes.
about Bowles getting fired. And
Yes.
he would, definitely be next year's head coach. And we can move on. And they're just going to have to watch Belichick walk elsewhere.
I see you kind of – I love that analysis as well, but you did kind of skirt the whole issue. Would he be successful here? And I mean by successful, would he win a Super Bowl here?
Yeah, that's a I'll say this. If I was Jason Light, I would have to tell Bill, hey, look, defensively, we want to hear your input, but you're not going to have the entire power here that you had in New England.
That's right.
I mean,
and is he okay with that?
History, that's the whole thing, right? If he wants all the power, go to Carolina.
Exactly.
And Tepper will give you everything, and that organization will continue to be what it is. But to me, Belichick is still one of the best defensive minds ever. Still certainly does a great job defensively. And certainly that mindset on the defensive side of things is important. And we will draft guys who fit your billing there. But he cannot be involved with the offensive side of the ball. He cannot be involved with offensive decision makings. You have to be able to, that has to be known right out of the gate. So to me, it all depends on what kind of power you're giving him. Because if you're going to give him all the power, I don't know if he's going to be that successful. Because
I agree.
He was given a lot of the power once, he had Brady, and that the way that thing was looking towards the end of Brady's time, even though they, made it back to Super Bowl a couple times, they really just stacked the defense and said, hey, Tom, you do it all. And that's why he left, because he was like, I'm looking around. I got nobody. I'm carrying this offense. This is painful for me. And, then he left Brady, and things did not get much better. Certainly offensively speaking, it got way worse. And it was proven that Tom Brady really hid a lot of ugly things about what was happening on that side of the ball. And so to me, it all depends on how much power Bill is going to give up. And if he's willing to give up offensive stuff and allow Jason Light and, Dave Canales will say he's here to just control that stuff and stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really love what Bill Belichick would do in Tampa Bay. And I do think all those things are possible with deep runs and a Super Bowl. But if he gets his hands too much in the mix, then nah, I'm out on that. And I think that's trouble.
And I just don't think he will do it. I think he wants complete control. I think if he would give up power and control, he would have stayed in New England. That's what this tells me, right? I think with him meeting with Kraft, I think Kraft said, look, we got to do this. We got to do this. We got to make some changes, Bill. He's like, not really interested.
Yeah.
I think I'll move on to Carolina and say thank you very much. And please don't take a draft pick for me because, I need that where I'm going. So I'm like, yeah, that's that. And I think that's what, and that's why I would be out on Belichick. And I think you nailed it there. I'm just getting some comments here that the Bucs have released $88 playoff seats. Another Buck crew member says, Nathan Elliott says on here, been watching Ticketmaster. There are more seats available today than there was on Monday. Tickets being cheap, less than paid for. I'm getting, Evan, I don't want to, it's economics are tough. People are going through tough times right now. The economy is just awful for so many people. So I don't want to dump on fans too much, but come on. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is wrong with our fan bases? It's just like we can't show up for baseball playoff games. We can't show up, which I understand a little bit more. But the Bucs? What are we doing?
My one concern about this year with the Bucs is everyone has to remember that when Tom Brady signed on last year, they forced everyone. If you wanted season tickets last year, you also had to have season tickets this year. And so you have a lot of Brady fans who have tickets to the Bucs who want no part of this. And, so that's not covering everything, right? That certainly doesn't explain the whole pie. I do think that is a part of the pie and why a lot of those tickets become available. But yeah, I mean, this is what I always stress. This is really the golden age of Tampa area sports. I know it's, we've been a little cold streak of winning championships, but the Bucs, the Rays, the Lightning, we'll see if the Lightning do it this year, but they're all making the playoffs, and that is not a guarantee. And that's not like, and that's what kind of happens in sports a lot of the times. Sometimes with fan bases, you get bored because of the success. And you got to always remember that, especially with Buccaneers fans, you had a decade where you guys just stunk. It was terrible. I mean, a 9-win season was like, let's get a poster.
You should have saved your money for playoff tickets then. I mean,
exactly. That's always my pitch to fans is don't take it for granted.
Exactly.
This stuff, before long, the Lightning are going to be in a huge downturn because of everything that they went all in during their Stanley Cup runs, which they should have, and it proved, back to back is, nothing you're going to take away from this city. But, those are things that are going to happen. At least in football, usually it's a little bit more cyclical. I mean, the fact that you've gone 4 straight is a remarkable achievement, something that's only been done once.
And a bit of an anomaly because the division is down so bad. So
yeah, it is a little bit with that. And, and that's always with sports too, right? If Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were in 2 different eras, how many championships would Peyton Manning had if he didn't at the same time as Tom? So that, it is a little bit of time and place, and the Buccaneers certainly are fortunate that they were able to win the NFC South in a terrible division. But, still, even with that, like the Saints and the Falcons should have beaten the Buccaneers in the division this year, before the year, on paper, with what the Falcons brought in and all the cap room and the talent they acquired.
And the Saints as well.
With everything they did. And to lose out to the Bucs is embarrassing for them, to be 100% honest. And that's not taking anything away from the Buccaneers and what they did.
That's fair.
But
fair.
The fact that the Buccaneers won a handful of 50-50 games on top of losing some, but they were able to do that. So I don't actually understand really where that comes from for a lot of fans and why they don't want to go. Maybe Monday night they're working, so on and so forth.
Yeah, maybe
these are playoffs. It's the same stuff that I said with the Rays.
What is this, our 8th home playoff game ever? I mean, it's like these things don't happen very often, but
exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, and especially because it's Philly, and that a bunch of Northeasterners are down here right now, and you're gonna have to try to secure, keep those tickets, because Philly fans, I mean, look, going to these games are way cheaper than going to the ones in Philly.
God, yes. Yes.
They don't mind paying the $88. They'll fly down for the flight, and it will still equal out to the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
There has to be a little sense of pride there.
Yeah. All right, Evan. Great stuff as always. Tell all the people how they can get your content.
Yeah, you can head first off on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Closkey WTSP. Always dropping some nuggets there in our 3 major sports teams. Also head to 10tampabay.com. We put up all our articles there. And I mean, those 2 venues really the most important. But always feel free to engage with me on Twitter, X. I respond to 99% of the people, as long as you're not a jerk.
You are a tremendous follow on Twitter, so please do that. Thanks, Evan. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We're brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Get your testosterone right, get your nutrition right, get your immune system right. They do it all there at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Quick break. Sal Paolantonio coming up next from ESPN. We'll talk Belichick. We'll talk Eagles. Stay with us.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves. Call for a free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. We're local, we're trusted, The law firm brings over 80 years of combined legal experience focusing on clients in Tampa Bay, the state of Florida, and national class action cases. If you're injured, get that free case evaluation, no cost to you. The Jeeves Law Group's focus is on auto, truck, and motorcycle accidents, as well as class action and consumer protection law. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. You hear him on the show all the time. Great guy, big Gator fan, and great for the community. The Jeeves Law Group is a highly skilled team with years of experience that will apply their skills, expertise, and knowledge to assist individuals who have been in an accident with compensation for damages, lost wages, medical expenses, pain and suffering, and property damage. Get that free case evaluation, 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, and they did it again. Once again, Italiano Insurance stepping up with the best customer service. I was in a bind. My old insurance company, my auto insurance, jacked up my rates, so I called Charity at Italiano Insurance, and she stayed till 9:30 at night until she got my insurance done. And guess what? She searched all these companies for me. I didn't do the work. She did. Saved me $1,000 on my annual premium. $1,000, folks. That's real money. And that's what you get at Italiano Insurance. Great customer service. And here's another note for you, by the way, with hurricane season up. 40% of people in Florida are underinsured. That means if you have something happen during a hurricane and you need replacement costs, you're going to get 40% less than you deserve. Can't let that happen. Call the folks at Italiano Insurance and get them to help you out in both those regards. They will save you money and keep you insured properly. That's 813-877-7799. Great folks in the community, been doing it for over 60 years. Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799.
JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA two-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com or call 813-485-6808.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here on this historic Thursday as the Bucs get ready to play the Eagles, and Bill Belichick is moving on from the New England Patriots. Nick Saban retires. We got 6 huge games coming up this wild card weekend, and who better to talk to than our good friend Sal Paolantonio, the pride of South Philly and ESPN. What's up, Sal Pal? How are you, my friend?
Yeah, wild card weekend started on Wednesday. Yesterday, didn't we?
My goodness, poor Nick Saban. They had the whole get-up show this morning planned to give him his flowers, and he got nothing because Bill Belichick, his good friend Bill Belichick, steals the spotlight. Were you surprised by what happened this morning, Sal? I'm sure you were not.
I don't think anybody was, JP. Yeah, that was a divorce that was waiting to happen. I think Bill Belichick wanted to stay. I think Bill Belichick has made it pretty clear to those people around him that he wants to break Don Shula's record, and he's 14 wins away. So he does want to continue to coach. I'm sure that he wanted to stay in New England and break the record there. But I think the fact that Mike Vrabel became available, I think the Crafts moved quickly, and Belichick was willing to part ways. He got his free agency, according to Mike Reese, and Adam Schefter, so he's free to go where he wants to go without any compensation to the New England Patriots. So that's big. Obviously was negotiated as part of the divorce.
Yeah, and I think that's significant, and I think it's a class move by Bob Kraft, because clearly he could have held out to get something. Does it also tell you, Sal, that wherever he wants to go, that he wants full control, and maybe the Patriots wanted to tweak that a little bit?
I don't think that it would have mattered in New England. I think that they were ready to move on.
Okay.
As for full control, I don't think that matters to Bill Belichick at all. I think the only thing that matters to him now is to go to a place where he can break Don Shula's record quickly and with dignity. So I think that's the number one thing. I don't know if he's had any conversations. Of course, it would be illegal for him to do so before he was granted his free agency by the Crafts, and that's not supposed to happen until later today.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there'll be teams out there that'll want him to coach. Remember, you got 8 jobs open, JP, 8 head coaching jobs. That's a quarter of the NFL. It's a quarter. Last year it was 6. He had 14 jobs turnover. You're counting the Panthers twice. But, you've got 8 jobs open, and you don't have that many qualified head coaches. So I anticipate that Belichick will have an opportunity to go somewhere. Plus, you still got wild card weekend. And there are 3 teams around which there are a lot of rumors about whether the coach will be back if they lose in the wild card round.
And I think 2 of those teams are playing in Tampa Monday night, and you will be here. What are your thoughts on if Todd Bowles and the Bucs lose this game on Monday night? Are the Glazers inclined to call Bill Belichick, knowing full well that the rumor mill has the Atlanta Falcons very much in it, obviously in their division, and the Carolina Panthers? What are your thoughts on Bucs and Belichick?
I would never speculate about a head coach's job. You know me very well.
I know.
That's not what I do. That's not what I do. And you know that I am extremely close to Todd Bowles.
Yep.
So I will not conjecture about his job. I'll just say this. He deserves to stay.
Okay.
He deserves to stay. And this is a guy who was saddled with a very high salary cap, dead money.
Mm-hmm.
Well over $50 million, by some estimates closer to $75 million. He had 13 rookies, 18 first or second year players total. He was given a rent-a-goalie at quarterback in Baker Mayfield on a prove-it contract.
Yeah.
And Baker has come through, even though Baker has been sacked 40 times, more than any other quarterback going into the postseason. 40.
Wow.
And it's starting to wear on Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Why has he been sacked? Well, a multitude of reasons. Protection sometimes breaks down. Teams like to blitz him up the middle. Baker holds on to the football a little bit of tick and a half too long sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to fight through sometimes to get free of getting a sack instead of going down like Tom Brady did. He's a fighter at his heart. And I'm very fond of Baker.
Yeah.
But he's taken too many sacks. And, now he's got a rib injury and an ankle injury that he's going into playoffs with. So I would not fire Todd Bowles. You look at
win or lose.
Division. You look at that division, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Glazers got themselves a home playoff game. They won the division. That means a lot of money is flowing into the Glazer coffers.
Yes.
Okay. And they've had a couple of division championships, and Bowles has been involved with 3 of them by my count.
Mm-hmm.
So Carolina's in a state of total upheaval. Atlanta's in a state of total upheaval. The Saints are in salary cap hell, and their roster is very old.
Yep.
So Bowlesy's in a spot where he can continue to make the playoffs and win the division and build something there. I would keep Todd Bowles 100% if I were the Glazers.
It's a very interesting perspective. And, and maybe it's not even about next year, right? You got a guy. It's a great point you make about the chaos surrounding the Bucs in this division. And you can almost even, as I think about it right now, look back to 2001, right? And there were talk about, is Tony Dungy ever going to get this team over the hump? And they stayed with him, and Tony kept building that defense. He kept building the foundation that eventually won the Super Bowl, right? Now, the Glazers went and got somebody to kind of get them over the top offensively. Maybe that's a template that's being followed right now. And you say, look, maybe, Todd deserves to stay. We're building something here. We'll continue to build it. And, if he's the guy to take us to the Super Bowl, we don't know that yet. But we don't have to make that choice yet. So maybe that's something that's in the Glazers' head. But, boy, when you got some of these big names that are out there, is it not a little bit tempting by the Glazers that with these guys out there?
Yeah, I'm not going to speculate about what's going to happen with Todd Bowles' job. I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah,
but I'll say this. I think it's very important for people to understand that Bill Belichick wants to break Shula's record quickly and with dignity.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to go someplace where he can do that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that to me those two are the biggest two factors about where Bill Belichick will go. Now, John Keim, who covers the Washington Commanders for ESPN.com, wrote very strongly that he doesn't think that the Commanders are interested in Bill Belichick because of the whole issue that you brought up, JP. Who's going to control the roster?
Right.
Who's going to be the GM? So Bill Belichick's going to bring his two sons, his two coaching assistants, the Belichick boys with him. That's going to be part of the package. But the ownership has got to understand very clearly what are his goals here. Or is it to rebuild the team or is it to break a record?
That's right. That's a very good point. Very good point. So do you have a pick for me where he'll end up? You think it might be Washington?
I think it's too early to say.
Okay.
I mean, the guy hasn't even, they haven't even had the press conference. They're still, 45 minutes away here. So
right.
I think the dominoes will fall pretty quickly. Pete Carroll definitely stated he wants to continue to coach. Belichick, we know he wants to continue to coach.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a lot of young offensive coordinators out there who are, just doing the right thing in the NFL, designing passing games and passing attacks that are successful. You have Ben Johnson in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
You have Slowick in Houston. Yep. You got guys who are out there who know how to handle quarterbacks. And, there's a dynamic that nobody talks about. Nobody has talked about what has happened to NFL players with the introduction of NIL money in college. You need to have coaches who understand the mindset of the college player coming out of school who's getting paid now.
Interesting. Yeah.
You're just not going to be George Patton,
right,
and a gunny sergeant and tell them this is the hill, we're going to climb it and we're going to take it.
You're right. Well,
that's gone. That's totally gone. You need a coach who can relate, talk to, motivate, and inspire college players who have already gotten paid. And you talk to coaches around the league, and they'll tell you this is a real live issue in the NFL.
This is a great segue to my next question because, I've heard so much talk about these great coaches and Nick Saban and Bill Belichick and their methods. And people say, do those methods still work? And I say, probably not. Unfortunately, because everything they've done, I believe in, and I believe it's the essence of life. And I believe it's the essence of football. And I think the two are very closely connected. It's why we love the game so much. But is it past time for these guys? Do these methods still work? And I want to celebrate what Belichick did, and I want to celebrate what Saban did. You covered Belichick. You watched the magic happen. So give me a little perspective on why it worked so well for Belichick, what he did that was so special, and the attention to detail, the maniacal uncomfortableness of his players. They were constantly in that state that he kept them in. Why did that work, and why maybe does it not work anymore? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we could probably have a whole TED talk on it.
Yes, we could.
At some point. I think now here's what we will see. We will see in the next 8 weeks, the dominoes fall and these coaches go to different places. And that will tell us what owners and general managers believe will work or not work.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to match up right now a coach with a quarterback. That's really it. Bryce Young and Frank Reich didn't work in Carolina for whatever reason. And the owner was super impatient.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a special situation. You have a new owner in Washington. He doesn't know how to build a football team. That's a special situation. You got Arthur Blank, who's in his 80s, with a dynamic that includes Rich McKay. That's a special situation. And you don't really have a young quarterback who you think can take you to the Super Bowl. Dallas with McCarthy and Dak Prescott, that's a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl. So where the owner is totally in charge of personnel. Again, you have to look at it and you have to take out broad strokes of philosophical approaches and just say, can we win with this guy and this quarterback quickly and with dignity? Can the guy break the record and can we get to the Super Bowl?
Interesting. Sal Paolantonio joining us here. All right. We got to talk Eagles, obviously. Nobody knows this team better than you. What the hell's going on in Philadelphia? How is this team in such a tailspin? Do they still believe in Sirianni? Do they still believe in Jalen Hurts? And do they put it all together this week because of the finality of the playoffs?
Well, those are a lot of questions. Let's start with the obvious. Can they go into Tampa and win the game on Monday night? I don't think so. It can happen, but they have a lot of things to change. And they're not getting to the quarterback on the front end of their defense, and they're not very good in pass defense. So if Baker Mayfield drops back, puts his foot in the ground like he did against the Jaguars when you and I were sitting in the press box a couple of weeks ago, and pulls the trigger quickly, they will be successful with Evans and Godwin. They will. They will be successful, 100%. If he doesn't turn the ball over, they probably win the game. But I think the Eagles could win the game on the flip side of that by just going back to what they did when they beat the Bucs earlier in the year, and that is lean on their offensive line and just rock the ball. So we're going to find out pretty quickly what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a super close game, very close. And I think it will be decided in the fourth quarter by a field goal.
Yeah, we're looking at with some wet weather too, Sal. Could be some rain for this one, and the fans are probably looking at the weather report too. The ticket sales have not been robust as you might think. So, and just on the field,
from a tactical standpoint on offense, let's look at the Eagles and what's wrong with them.
Yeah.
They're having a horrible time recognizing the blitz as a team, as a quarterback. Hurts was the fourth most blitzed quarterback in the league. And he was blitzed on Sunday 63% of the time by Wink Martindale. He went 5 for 11, 41 yards with a pick and sack. But overall, during the season, he had so many wasted plays. He threw the ball away 38 times this year. Only rookie Bryce Young was worse.
Yeah.
Only rookie Bryce Young was worse. And we know that Todd Bowles was fourth in the league with blitz percentage this year, third in the league, but depending on how you count it. So, I think this is a game that sets up nicely for Todd Bowles and the Bucs defense against Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles decide that they're going to throw the football, it's a mistake. To me, the best defensive player on the football field for both teams is Anton Winfield Jr., the free safety of the Bucs, who, in my mind, should be an all-pro.
Yes.
That guy, you watch him on film, and he will wreck the game pretty quickly.
Sal Pal, what has happened to this Eagles offensive line? You talk about the Jalen Hurts not being able to blitz. This was a unique and elite unit. What's going on with that offensive line? Are they not protecting in the blitz? Are they not dominating in the run game? What's happening?
I don't think it's the offensive line, JP. I think it's the quarterback holding on to the ball too long, and the design of the passing game that doesn't allow him to get the ball out quickly.
Yeah.
And it's a vanilla offense.
Yeah.
Eagles offense is the most predictable in the NFL. They use pre-snap motion 26% of the plays during the regular season. That's last in the league.
Yeah.
Last in the league using pre-snap motion makes you vanilla.
Yeah.
By the way, the league average was 51%. Average was 51%. That's double the Eagles' usage of pre-snap motion. So they are not only vanilla, they are generic vanilla.
Predictable generic vanilla.
They're not even Breyer's vanilla with the vanilla beans in it. They are like
it's value brand from Walmart. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say Wawa, but I love Wawa, so
don't dump on my Wawa. No way. No way. Well, Sal, I did.
By the way, the best thing about coming down to Florida in the last couple of years has been the number of Wawas that have sprouted up. I mean, when I go into a Wawa in Florida, that is nirvana for me.
What's your go-to? What's your go-to Wawa?
Listen, it's a Colombian coffee with light cream, extra sugar, and a coffee cake from the coffee cake aisle. That's what I want. I want a tasty cake, coffee cake, and I want my New York Post. And the thing about the Wawas in Florida is they have those little picnic benches outside. Yes. We don't have that in Philly. Yeah. That's so great. That's great. So I get my Post, my coffee, and my tasty cake, coffee cake, and I sit there and I read the New York Post, and people come up and are like, "Aren't you Sal Paolantonio?" I say, "No, I get that all the time. No, I'm not."
I love it. You know what?
Listen, I'm looking forward to coming down, weather or no weather. I did hear it was supposed to rain on Monday night. Yeah.
The tailgaters are not going to be happy. So, yeah, no good. Well, Sal, always great to chat with you, my friend. Looking forward to seeing you. We'll play a little tennis if we can beat the rain, and we'll have some fun watching some of these games as well. Looking forward to seeing you, buddy.
All right. Thanks for having me on the show, JP, and I'll see you over the weekend.
You're the best. Thanks. The great Sal Paolantonio right there. Obviously he's a lot classier man than I am. So much so that he will not even speculate about Todd Bowles. And he brings up some great points about Todd. When in a time of tumultuous change, being consistent and calm and stable, not a bad play for the Buccaneers. Not a bad play. And as he was talking about that, I was thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, think back to 2002. It's funny that we're playing the Eagles in the playoffs as well. That there was a time that this, Tony had this team humming. They had been to the playoffs four times in 5 years. Come within a touchdown of getting to the Super Bowl, but they just couldn't get over the hump. And everybody, a lot of the things we're saying about Todd Bowles, we were saying about Tony Dungy. And, the Glazers held on. They kept knocking on the door. And then at some point it was like, okay, we need something to push us over the top. Maybe that's not this year, with all the other openings, that may be more attractive to other teams. Maybe that's not this year. Maybe you stand with Todd, see what happens next year. And then you make a move, and it doesn't cost you anything to get a head coach. You can keep all your draft picks. You continue to draft and build. You sign Baker. I don't know. What do you think?
And as he was saying that, I was, shaking my head, kind of in agreement with him. That he's not wrong about all of the things he said about Bowles and the organization and the situation that he's dealt with.
Yeah.
But what he didn't address, to me, are the bigger issues: his game time decisions, his personnel decisions, his inability to grasp when to use timeouts and when not to use timeouts, and things like. To me, those are the things that hurt your team when you're a coach, and that snatch victory away from you, and you're personally responsible for that.
Yeah.
Coach's job is to put this team in the best position to win.
Yeah.
When you're making those just baffling decisions on personnel, who's playing, who's not, I don't care about his demeanor at the podium. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That is what it is. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors. That's more important. Fine. I'll excuse
I would like to see him hold players accountable.
Exactly.
His demeanor is one thing, but I would like to see him hold players accountable, but that's not his style.
Yeah. If he's not going to do that, fine. But to me, the bigger issues are the personnel decisions that he's made, his coaching decisions in game. To me, those are the bigger issues that you have to focus on. Do we really want to go through another year or two of that? Is the bigger question for me.
Yeah, and that's those are the things when I think when you talk about Todd, you say you look in the macro and you say look at what the stuff that he was given and what he's done with it. And it's definitely those are check. Yeah, that's good stuff. But I'm with you. It's the other things that that just I don't see him being a championship level coach. But again, is this roster championship level right now? No, it's not. It's not ready. It's not to that. One more year of growth of these young defensive players. Maybe you draft a couple of offensive players that surprise you. Maybe Trey Palmer becomes a better player. There's a lot of things that you find a running back. I think Rachaad White's tremendous, but you need two guys that can be explosive. And Chase Edmonds, by the way, has given you a little something in the past few weeks. We haven't really talked much about it, but he's given you a little pop in some nice spots. So yeah, and Canales gets a little bit better. Okay, so now you go through one more season where you make the playoffs, you win the division again. Maybe they lose in the playoffs with Todd Bowles again, and you're like, okay, you know what? And now there's maybe Dave Canales is now ready. You think maybe there's somebody else available that becomes available. That maybe Mike Tomlin is now available. And he comes to Tampa Bay and they put you over the top. So these are all we want it now. We want the new guy now. Who's the new guy? We want him. But you're in a situation in a cycle where now there's 8 jobs open. And are you going to get the best? You're a week late because you're in the playoffs. So you may not be in on the Slowicks or the Ben Johns. Well, because those guys are in the playoff too. So they're not talking to anybody. So anyway, it's a lot of chaos out there right now, and I feel bad that we're even talking about this, frankly, as I was admonished by Sal. I shouldn't be speculating, but he's, like I said, he's a lot classier than me. But fans are talking about this. Fans want to talk about it. They obviously look at the comments. They're, everybody wants to light it up. So that's our job, to stimulate the conversation. So I'm not pushing Todd Bowles out the door. The Glazers aren't listening to me saying, "Oh, JP said he should be gone." No, none of that matters. So we're just having a conversation here, and maybe eventually he won't be the guy, but we'll see how this progresses. Maybe this is not the time to go get a coach. But
I mean, it's a unique time because there's a lot of guys available who aren't going to be available. So that's what you need to think about as an owner or a GM. Is one of these guys that's available now who we know won't be available very long, is that the guy I want? And if so, you got to move.
Nathan Elliott says, with 8 jobs open, stay where you are and build the culture. What culture are you building, though?
Yeah,
that's the thing culture? About the accountability here that just, it's not Belichickian. I can tell you that. It's not Saban-ish. By the way, does Nick Saban want to go to the NFL? Does he want to scratch that itch that he was so bad at before?
Man, that was just bad.
It was bad. But,
back years.
It was a time when, it was different. And again, Saban coming to the NFL with his style, although I will say this, sorry, John, the players that are winning in the NFL, most of them played for Saban.
True, yeah.
So
a lot of alumni in the league.
Yeah. But does he want to go to Carolina and coach? He knows how to coach.
Oh, there's no
Bryce,
way.
There's
no way.
I don't know.
He probably wants no part of Bryce Young. He's probably glad he's gone. Telling you, man.
It's just interesting. It's like with 8 job openings, you don't think his phone's ringing?
Oh, it is.
But here's the other thing. He's leaving because of NIL and portal, right? Because it's pure chaos.
He hates it.
It's pure freaking chaos. He wants no part of it anymore. It's actually less chaos in the NFL now. And a lot of these players played for him. His 49 first-round picks that have come out that he's coached, most ever. There's a lot of players out there that he knows the personnel of the NFL right now as good as anybody, who can play and who can't. and certainly would attract a lot of very interesting free agents when their time comes open.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't dismiss it. He certainly has the energy for it. And I, you got 8 openings. There's some owners out there that could do that are going to pick up. There's going to be 3 guys hired that we've never heard of.
Oh, easy.
For
Yeah.
the most part,
Yeah.
So,
And, all this talk of these young offensive coordinators, Ben Johnson, who is it? Brian in Philly.
Brian Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. They have the same last
Johnsons.
name.
Yeah.
And especially Slowick in Houston. Slowick is not ready, dude. He's a first-year offensive coordinator who is working
Don't
magic.
tell TJC 22 that he's a big Slowick.
No,
fan.
and that's what? That's fine. I like Slowick too, but dude, give him a minute.
Yeah.
To cut his teeth as an offensive coordinator. He's got CJ Stroud, one of the greatest rookie quarterbacks ever.
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do in year 2 with before we anoint him the next freaking great head coach, and even the Johnsons, Johnson and Johnson. Let's give them a little bit of time. I'm all for hiring young, up and coming coaches, but hey, let's see what they can do first. They haven't had any type of hardship. In Philly, Johnson's got some hardship for sure right now. We'll see how he comes out of it. But
there's just so many. There's so many. Everybody wants the latest flavor. They want the latest, greatest thing. They want to find the diamond in the rough. They want to, it's like, I may not be ready, but I see great bones there. There's a spark. And I'm like you, man. I'm like, you got to prove it to me. You want to be an NFL coach, you got to prove it to me for a little bit. You got to have a little bit of a track record, because one of the great things about the NFL is the talent is so equalized and it's cyclical, right? It's a league made for parity. And if you can continually win in the NFL over a long period of time and sustain, a great offense, sustain a great defense with different people coming in and out every single year, injuries. Now that's a good coach. That's a good football coach. And I don't know that about Dave Canales. I don't know that about Bobby Slowick. I don't know about some of the Johnsons. I don't know. And I would, but here's the chance. Somebody's going to give him a chance. And if he is the next coming of Nick Saban or Bill Belichick or whomever, or Sean McVay, you lost out. Chances are he ain't. Chances are he's not.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way it works.
There's only so many Kyle Shanahan's and Sean McVays out there. The other times you get Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
When you think you want to go young, and God, what a miserable experience that is. But
TJC says Slowick has been in the NFL for almost 13 years.
He has, but not as a coordinator.
That's right. I'd never heard of him until this year.
Yep,
also says that Saban, his wife, is battling dementia. Oh, that's sad. That's so sad. Yeah, and his wife. I've seen features when his wife, who's like the team mom and always has been, and it's the best. It's some of the best stuff. Their relationship is just, it's special. It's unique. And that is a huge part of his success, by the way.
Sure. A
huge part of his success.
As it is with most coaches, successful coaches.
Yeah, it really is. Meets McGee says it's the effort of Todd Bowles' teams. I have no issue of Todd continuing to coach his team. I just can't get past the lack of effort some of his players have. The Saints game really did it for me. I'm with you, brother. That
no
thing just put me over the edge.
It's just no accountability, man.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Belichick and Parcells and Saban have had some clunkers. But I never remember him having clunkers in
games like that, the biggest game of the year where you guys got to be ready. I don't remember that.
Right.
No.
So, all right. I'm going to get to much more of the comments. Let's take another break here. And when we get back, I want to get to a couple other things. I have to, I got to weigh in on Pat McAfee and Aaron Rodgers. Wow. You freaking coward. Going to weigh in on that. We got some other stuff going on around the NFL, and who's going to replace Nick Saban? This is a very, very interesting.
Do you want to be that guy?
Do you want to be that guy? I kind of do, and I kind of don't. Right. So we'll hit that when we come back. We're brought to you by the great folks at Synovus Bank. They are a big bank, but a local bank as well. My good friend John Acosta has been in the banking business for over 40 years here locally. That's the kind of folks they have working over there at Synovus Bank. It is as I said, they can handle all the complex transactions of a big bank, but they have a local soul. When you go in there, you'll get the local feel of a small bank, and that's what you want, right? It's Synovus Bank. Go to synovus.com, find a location near you. Tell them JP sent you. Ask for John Acosta, or someone else will be there just like him to welcome you in for personal and business. It's Synovus Bank. Back in 3. Stay with us.
Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
JP here for the Geddes Gordon Real Estate Group and our good friend Jane Geddes. Folks, simply put, there is nobody like Jane. Jane is a former LPGA 2-time major championship winner. She was also vice president of talent relations at WWE. She also has a law degree from Stetson. So if Jane can drain a 10-footer to win the U.S. Open and stare down Hulk Hogan in the boardroom, you want Jane on your real estate team to not only negotiate the best deal, but find you the perfect home or investment property. And when you work with the Geddes Gordon Group, you become part of the real estate family and get concierge services that include expertly staging, marketing, and preparing your home for sale. Advice on golf properties. Hey, you might even get some golf tips. Many of their clients become friends long after the sale or purchase is completed. It's all part of the deal. So if you're looking for that perfect home or investment property, or trying to get top dollar for your home, go with Jane Geddes and the Geddes Gordon Group, because there's nobody like Jane. Call 813-485-6808 or go to geddesgordon.kw.com. That's GEDDES Gordon.kw.com, or call 813-485-6808. Are you tired of those stuffy, overpriced sports bars? Well, come join the fun at the Patio in South Tampa and watch your favorite football teams under the stars in a tropical paradise. Yeah, it's a unique setting with huge wood decks beneath the trees, and don't worry, they have an inside AC bar with all your favorite bar games as well. The Patio has all the NFL and UFC sports packages, and it's home to the Tampa Gator Club and Bills Mafia, but all fans are welcome at any time. Hey, my FSU buddies love to watch the Noles at the Patio. It's also home to a great happy hour. Weekdays, get $4 White Claw vodka drinks and $4 White Claw seltzers, $1 off all beer and wine from 3 to 7:30. And every Friday happy hour, join us for Football Friday. It's our live broadcast from 5 to 7 with tons of specials and the fan mic for you to join the show. We'll have swag and ticket giveaways as well. So come out for the live broadcast 5 to 7 every Friday at the Patio, and come watch football in a tropical paradise all season long. It's 421 South McDill, just a few blocks south of Kennedy. Everyone meets at the Patio.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at American Mortgage Services. My good buddy Scott Fitzgerald, who I was chatting with yesterday, told me that some of the interest rates they're down in the low 6s now, could be in the low 5s pretty soon. And when they get lower, folks, the frenzy is going to start. Like, it's going to be crazy here in Florida. So if you've been on the sidelines, get back in now. Even if the rate's a little bit higher, at least you can make that money on the price in, because you remember when people were getting 60 grand over asking price? Well, that's probably coming back when the rates go back lower, because people that have been wanting to move and buy have been sitting on the sidelines. So get in now. That's what the smart people are doing. Get in now while the inventory is still low. Prices are a little bit lower than they were. So especially here in Florida, do it now. Scott@amstampa.com will get you the mortgage that you need. And our good friends at the Geddes Gordon Group, Jane Geddes, will get you the house that you want. So use our real estate team here on the JP Peterson Show to get back in the game now before things go bananas. It's the GeddesGordonGroup.com and Scott@AMStampa.com. Tampa.com. Had lunch with the both of them last month at Palmacia. A couple of Seminoles, but we had a great chat about real estate and Florida State getting screwed. So, which
Of course you did.
as you can tell, I'm clearly over. I'm clearly over that. So, of course, when Saban retires, all my FSU group chats light up as like, oh, see, that's why they put Alabama in. They knew Saban was retiring. I'm like, let's throw that in conspiracy.
Might as well. Yeah.
We got
the pot.
My pot's so full right now. I mean, Mike, it's boiling over. For God's sakes, they give us so many ingredients. What are we supposed to do? For God's sakes, what are we supposed to do? All right. Who's going to replace Nick Saban? TJC says Kalen DeBoer. I don't. He doesn't. Does he have any Alabama ties?
Not to my knowledge. I've heard that from a couple of people now, though.
Yeah.
I think he's done everything he can do where he is.
I've got the Bet Online Sportsbook favorites. Who do you think you probably already seen this. Dan Lanning, former Georgia defensive coordinator, young guy. We saw him on the national championship broadcast. He's a dynamic young coach. Does he have Alabama ties? I
would have liked to have seen him at A&M.
Yeah, he probably does because he worked for Kirby Smart, so I'm sure he does. He's at 3-1. Dabo Sweeney is at 4-1.
No way.
Why you say no way? Obviously, I played at Alabama. Everybody said he's going to be the next guy to follow, and that
Dan Lanning
wants him out.
Dan Lanning was a graduate assistant at Alabama in 2015.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's the extent of it. I don't think Dabo wants that job. I really don't, and he definitely doesn't want to follow Nick Saban.
See, that's the thing, though. I mean, everything's in place. There's worse jobs. I mean, you're in the SEC.
He's had a worse job.
You have the best facilities in America. You have a rabid fan base. All the NIL money you could possibly want. I mean, you can say you're following. Yeah, following Nick Saban sucks. But I gotta tell you, if you're gonna get a great job, and there's history there, right? You gotta win. You're gonna win everywhere. So at least give me the tools. Give me the tools. I know I got the tools in Alabama. I got a recruiting, a great situation in recruiting. I got plenty of NIL money, a great fan base. I got connections with all the different high school coaches around the Southeast. There's an Alabama pipeline. It's so many schools. I mean, there's definitely worse jobs to get. So if I'm a coach, I'm not worried about following Nick Saban. It is what it is. You still got to go out there and win. It's not like there's going to be a ghost, in the closet, sabotaging you. It is. You got a lot of advantages. If you're Dan Lanning, are you leaving Oregon to go to Alabama? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
By the way, DeBoer, no ties to Alabama either.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So you got, and then there's Lane Kiffin.
Just kill. You know what? We're going to do that again. There may not be a person on the planet I dislike more than Lane Kiffin.
Why?
Other than Josh McDaniels.
Lane's a nice guy. I like the way he,
It's one of the biggest trolls on the planet, man.
Love the way he trolls people. I love it. Absolutely love it.
He deserves it. You know what? They deserve each other. Alabama and Lane Kiffin deserve each other.
It's a good marriage. I really do.
New contract at Ole Miss, though. I mean, I know that doesn't mean anything.
They urinate on those contracts, these SEC guys. Yeah, well, figure that out. What's the buyout? What's the switch over? He'd want it. He knows it. Listen, I know he wants it.
He can have it. And here's the thing. Look, we're talking about following Nick Saban and someone potentially following Bill Belichick in New England. I think at this point, they're two entirely different things, two different scenarios. Bill Belichick has not been successful the last couple of, 3 years?
4 years. Yeah, it's been 4 years.
So you're not following Bill Belichick off of a Super Bowl win, and then he just retired and rode off into the sunset, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's people that are ready for Bill Belichick to leave in New England.
Right.
Clearly the owner. And, Nick Saban, no, he didn't win the national championship, but, man, they had a great run, a great season, probably overachieved for that team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's like following freaking Bear Bryant, you know?
I don't think it's I guess it's the way you look at it. I think any of these guys would love the job. You know who's next on the list? Prime time, 6-1. Prime time and Kalen DeBoer are both at 6-1.
Wow,
Can you imagine?
That's really high for me.
Can you imagine?
Huh.
Alabama and Deion Sanders, the hype machine.
That's
ESPN.
crazy.
ESPN. So I'd get all the executives a towel. They're just right there, just like, Deion Sanders in Alabama. Oh my God. I mean, it's a wet dream for them.
I don't even know what to think about that.
Oh wait, yeah, the highest profile job with a guy who just sucks up the limelight. There's not I don't think you have enough lights to put on the set. Well, maybe you don't even need lights. They bring their own. They just bring Deion just brings his own. Yeah.
Hey, you want to update on our Twitter poll?
Yes, I do.
Here's put it on the screen here for you for everybody watching.
Oh God, look at you.
If the Bucs lose Monday night,
Bucs
we go
lose,
after Bill Belichick. 50%, and we've got 90 votes or so in now.
Want no part of it.
Yeah. No, his style has passed 50%. Next is, of course, he's the GOAT, 19.7%. Fire Bowles, hire Canales at 12%, and stick with Bowles at 18%. So less than 20% of the votes now want Bowles back.
Yeah, that's not, I see some other polls in some other spots, and there's, I would probably say conservatively, it's about 70% of the fan base, not a huge fan of Todd Bowles at this point. So, and I think, as one of our commenters, I forget who it was, basically said the same thing. It said, the Glazers see this, they can't sell tickets to a playoff game. Al Jackson, this is a new name in here. Hey, Al, what's up, brother? Thank you for joining the party. Lack of ticket sales is directly related to the lack of faith in this coaching staff. You better believe the Glazers see it this way too. My information is, this was told to me during the 5 of 6 losses, that the Glazers are definitely, their eyes are open, they're wide open, and they are willing to fire Todd Bowles after year 2. They're willing to do it. In terms of, a PR hit, and they should be, they should have no issues with that whatsoever. I hate to even talk about those things because it should be meaningless and all that stuff, but I understand it's part of the world we live in.
Yep.
But, I think to me, I keep it just on the field and what we see and who they are. And we judge them that way as they would want to be judged, by the way. And it's just, it's not there for me. We've talked about that. And maybe, are there some fans that are like, look, I'm not real confident. I think the Eagles are going to stomp us and I don't want to go sit in the rain and watch my team get their ass kicked. But, the tickets are $88 a piece for a playoff game.
It's pretty badass right there. Heck, I may come to Tampa.
I don't think they have that available in Dallas, do they?
No, you can't even park for $88 at AT&T Stadium, JP.
That's true, right? Like that's not a joke. That's a fact. It's $100.
It's $95 to park at AT&T Stadium, and that's the far away. Or you can just get a helicopter and fly in like Jerry does.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny when they built AT&T Stadium and it opened, they were touting these $25 standing room only seats, right? Like it
right.
Went into the stadium. They have this big platform.
Right.
And you can literally just get a ticket. You go in, you don't have a seat, and they've got little bar top tables or whatever. If you're lucky enough to get a table. But you can only see the field from 15 feet towards the rail. And it goes back all the way to the end of the stadium. So you can be at the game, but you can't watch it. Everybody's like, man, well, I would go for $25 just to experience it, right?
Be in the stadium, yeah.
They're not $25 anymore.
Well, how much are they?
They're $75.
Just for standing room only.
Standing room only.
So you can get a playoff ticket in Tampa for 88.
Yeah.
You get a standing room only for regular season versus the Falcons at AT&T Stadium. You don't even get a seat. You can't even see the field.
The game. Yeah, you're just there.
It's a different market, man. It's a different market, and it just there's never been big money in Tampa Bay. It's one of the things I love about it, you know, and that's changing a little bit. Unfortunately, there's a lot of foreign money coming in. You know, I don't ever want us to be like Miami, please, Lord. Never.
I don't think that'll happen. Yeah, y'all don't have the same infrastructure that Miami has. Thank goodness.
Yeah, it's a totally different culture, and I want to keep it that way. You know, so it's but that hurts our teams in terms of how much money they can make, and it's certainly better than having a baseball team in St. Pete. I can tell you that. All right, so I got to get to this. So yesterday, Pat McAfee, and I don't know, I think I retweeted what he said about it. I don't know if you can get it on the fly, Tim, because coming out of his mouth, it made me sick to my stomach. But he said yesterday that Aaron Rodgers is not coming on the show anymore. You know, the season is over, so we're not having him back on the show. He was scheduled, as far as I know, to be on through Super Bowl, through the whole season. And he said, you know, he's not coming on, and frankly, I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it, you know, because my mentions and, you know, on Wednesdays, I don't have to deal with all this BS anymore, you know, and it basically threw Aaron Rodgers under the bus. The guy that put him on the freaking map, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, nobody knew about Pat McAfee's show until Aaron Rodgers started going on, for the most part. I know it was popular, and then Aaron jumped on because he liked, you know, the atmosphere of the show. It was very, you know, it was nothing like ESPN. You know, it was definitely, you could talk about things that you can't talk about over there. Let's just say it, conservative stuff. You could have conservative viewpoints, and it was okay. And people love that because you can't find that on ESPN anywhere. And I'm not trying to get political here one way or the other. It's just that's just and by the way, why can't you be able to say things that are a conservative thought and not be ridiculously attacked? And so you can guess what Pat McAfee found out, that the mob will attack you, and they will attack you like vociferously. And what you don't realize is the mob is a very small portion, but they're very, very loud because they're amplified on many social media outlets. And most of the mainstream media is agenda driven from the left, as ESPN is,
right?
Like without question. And so when Aaron Rodgers comes on and says and has a different opinion, oh my God, the devil himself, he is a heretic. And you get all these things, and guess what? Pat McAfee can't handle the heat suddenly. And by the way, most of your audience, yeah. This is what I put up. Yeah. But I think I retweeted the audio of it. Is there an audio portion?
Oh, yeah. Give me just a second. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when he has a separate attitude or separate opinion that's not of the ESPN agenda, I said, as we predicted, that's not going to last very long. Those ESPN bosses aren't going to put up with that. They censor any of that is not of their political agenda. By the way, their political agenda has been proven to be wrong factually on many, many levels. Look at the data. You want to be the people of science, look at the data on vaccines, on COVID, on all of that stuff. You were wrong, horribly wrong. Masks don't work. Lockdowns don't work. And that's all the things that the vaccines are not safe and effective. The data is overwhelming. Okay. So not only was he right, but you still don't want to hear it. And again, this is not political. This is factual and all the stuff that came with it. So he's 100% right on what he's talking about. Although people want to, like Jimmy Kimmel, still want to slander you with conspiracy theories. No, look at the facts, bro. Pretty apparent. And so, and then he throws Aaron Rodgers under the bus. Let's play it.
I got it coming up here. Just a second.
Right. And of course, his ESPN bosses were like, yeah, that's not happening. And Pat McAfee told all of his constituents and all the people that have been with him, all the people that made him money, all the people that have been with him forever, that he wasn't going to change. He wasn't going to be told who to put on the program. Well, guess what? You just bent the knee, as we knew you would.
Yeah,
because that's what happens. Here we go.
It was the guy that stopped by yesterday, Closkey. Quite a conversation.
A little bit, yeah.
Now,
per usual.
Not like that.
Yeah.
So Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, season 4 is done.
Yeah. Complete. Season.
There's going to be a lot of people that are happy with that, myself included, to be honest. With the way it ended, it got real loud. And real loud. I'm happy that is not going to be my mentions going forward, which is great news. We always, and this is legit, and I think I'm never going to act like people are out to get people.
Sure.
But throughout my life, there's been a lot of people that have definitely wanted to see me not do good because I'm an uber confident human being, loud.
Total contradiction, by
And
the way.
if I think you're trying to hold me or my guys back, like I'm an asshole too. Certainly have zero. Don't need you. Hey, what are you? Nothing. Sweet. See ya. Keep it moving. So there were some people, especially when, I negotiate my own deal here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole business there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Couple jobs.
A lot of connections, a lot of stuff like that.
That's enough. That's enough. Just
Hey,
throwing him under the bus was the part that just really, really pissed me off. Because Aaron Rodgers ain't coming back on your show. He doesn't want to be back on your show. Your ESPN bosses will never let him back on. Don't act, and he acts like, we'll have him back on. No, you won't. That's a lie too.
He's not. He doesn't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to, and ESPN will not let you. And we knew that was coming on because they censor people. And that's what this is about, folks. I'm not being political. This is about censorship. Okay? It's about censorship. And if you have any historical perspective whatsoever, okay, censorship is bad. It leads to very, very bad things because the people who are trying to censor you do not have your best interest in mind. I'm not going to start throwing out, code words and all those other things. You can do if you care to do a little bit of research, you should know this already. But censorship doesn't work. And ESPN has been in the censorship business for quite some time. And this is just another portion of it. You can hate Aaron Rodgers and you can hate his opinions. But if you want to silence people like ESPN has been doing for a long, long time, and they're very influential and they're part of the whole Disney cabal, that is not good. It doesn't work out for you or we, the people. It never does. And that's why I throw red flags up on it all the time. And this is another one. So Pat McAfee, you're a sellout. You bent the knee, and he tried to cover it up with, we would just want to talk sports here. We just want to talk sports.
It's never been the case.
No. And you're a coward for even trying to hide behind that. Oh, we just want to talk sport. Oh, now? Yeah. And the worst part, and guess what? And I looked at all the mentions, and I'd say 4 out of 5 were your former listeners and audience, and they said, F you, buddy. We're not that stupid. We're out. And I can see the ratings on this show are going to tank magnificently. And I say that with all pride because you did what you did. I even, last week I was like, oh, all right, Pat, you called out your ESPN bosses. I'm back with you because I thought you were a sellout. But in the end, he fooled me for a week. He's a sellout. And again, it ain't about Pat McAfee. It ain't even about Aaron Rodgers. It's about censorship. It's about censorship. I went to journalism school. I'm not a big fan of censorship. I know I have a pretty good historical perspective, and I know it's a bad thing. And even if you hate all of his opinions and the facts that he says, Aaron Rodgers, you should never be for censorship. You should never be for that because that leads to a lot of the stuff that's going on in our country right now, and it's not good.
You know who censorship is good for? The censors. You know who it's not good for? The people.
The people. 100%. Do your homework on that. All right. What else did we not get to today? By the way, congratulations to Antoine Winfield Jr. Being named the best defensive back in the league by our folks at Good Morning Football and Devin McCourty. Richly deserved. The Bolts, by the way, back in action against the Devils tonight, coming off that huge comeback win over the Kings on Tuesday. So hopefully we can continue that momentum. It's 90s night, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't have the Bolts in the 90s, really, did you? Oh, you guess you did.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we started, 92?
That's right. Yeah, that's
90,
right.
No, 96.
Y'all came in the league, was it the same year as the Sharks? Or because they were 92.
I think it was 92. Yeah, 92, 93. Yeah. So, yeah, we were in the 90s, but, I was in the 90s. So I think I probably, as Ashley will tell you, I still have clothes from the 90s in my closet. So I should be able to find something to wear.
Coming back, man. They're coming back.
What are the trappings of the clothes of the 90s? Leisure suits were 70s.
It's got to be flannel, right?
Is it flannel?
Yeah, flannel and tying your jacket around your waist.
Yeah. None of that works in a medium shot
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
So I don't know. We'll figure. We'll
I don't
figure.
know. Wear a Pearl Jam T-shirt or something. I don't know.
There you go.
Last
Yeah,
time
maybe a rock and roll T-shirt with a blazer. That's very 90s.
Yeah, that's
right.
Last time they were relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. All right, let's see what maybe I'll go with that tonight. But anyway, we have Bolts and Devils tonight. I think Jack Hughes is injured, so they're a little banged up. The Devils are good hockey team. So a couple of points on the line tonight that the Bolts will desperately need. All right. A big thanks to Sal Paolantonio today. Great segment with him about the Eagles and Bill Belichick. You got to check that out if you missed it. Remember, you can always listen to the show as a podcast on Apple and Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also at fanstreamsports.com. Our YouTube channels, Fanstream Sports, JP Peterson Show. All our socials, you can find our show each and every day and listen to it there. Timmy, great job. Thanks for playing injured once again. You'll be joining me tomorrow because Nick's on vacation.
Yep.
So we got a whole nother news cycle, bro. Who the hell knows what's happening? It's going to be great.
May have more Belichick news for you.
Yes, we will. We'll see you then. Have a great day.